when you're alone in the dark? Are you scared? Fear. Aaron, scare out. Aaron, scare out. When you're alone in the dark and you're thumping the night, just put on this podcast for a good fright. Aaron, scare out. Aaron, scare out. Aaron, scare out. Let's scare out. Fear.
Ooh, welcome to a spooky episode of Aaron Out. Aaron Scare Out. This is awkward because I don't know if we actually finished the intro song at the point of recording this. So it very well could have just been a regular, the normal song you hear every week. But there's a chance you heard the remix version, the Halloween version. And if that's the case, it was sick. If that's not the case, welcome back to another standard episode of Aaron Air Out. Episode 8. We made it 2 months. That is 2 months longer than my last podcast. So we're on a good roll. It has been a kind of a busy week. Busy-ish week. What did I do this week? It's been so busy I didn't have time to stop and think about what I did this week. Today's Thursday. Yesterday was out recording the Weekly Wander. Tuesday I had some orientation for UPS. Your boy is hired. Your boy's got a job. Easiest job I ever got. I literally applied on Indeed. Then they immediately got back to me. I think I talked about this last week, actually. I'm not going to talk about it now. I did the orientation. And that was it. Like, I'm just employed that quickly. They're going to call me again tomorrow morning. And I guess the driver just calls me and is going to say where to meet him. And then I'm going to ride in his truck for the afternoon. Deliver some packages. So, money, check. Get that off the list. Next up, keep recording podcasts and get better at doing podcasts and videos. And actually do them. When you come up with an idea, Aaron, execute that idea. Don't just write it down for it to be future Aaron's problem. I love screwing over future Aaron. Constantly. Every single decision I've ever have to make, 99% of the time, I decide I'm not going to make a decision now. I'm going to leave it for future Aaron. And future Aaron gets pissed at past Aaron. Hey, you think you should record this podcast earlier so you can do some extra editing and maybe make it a little more fancier? Nah, that's future Aaron's problem. He can figure it out Friday morning. Hey, you think we should plan out this video script a little bit more? Maybe plan out some shots before we get on site? Nah, future Aaron will figure it out while he's shooting. He'll improvise it.
Future Aaron here. Friday, 10:35 a.m. You did not give me a lot of time to edit this, past Aaron. You really let me down here.
I'm always so reliant on my improv skills that I don't have any. I'm just blasting away at myself, wasting my own time. So, gotta get better at discipline. Gotta keep reading that book from Jocko and learn more how the military stays disciplined and let that work on me. But anyways, we just started off hot and just started talking. I was putting this off, listening to some old videos on my computer, but we're back for episode 8, the Halloween extravaganza. I had planned on, talking about past Halloweens I had, maybe talk about my scariest moment. And honestly, I can't think of anything. I can't think of a time when I've been really scared in my life. I want to think of like a really scary story I could share with you guys. But honestly, there's not a lot of scary moments growing up in the suburbs of Canada. Like, there's not a lot of freaky stuff that goes on. It's pretty ordinary, natural, non-supernatural kind of days going on. But I can think of some Halloween costumes. Halloween is my favorite holiday above and beyond. Like the Halloween season, I think I enjoy it more than Christmas season, which is a bold take. I know that Christmas is so joyful and beautiful. And, like the snow is just falling down and it's great. But it's something about the Halloween season, that transition from summer into fall. The leaves are changing and falling. It's getting like cooler out. And just like the Halloween movies appeal to me far more than the Christmas movies. Growing up, I remember always watching on the Family Channel like weeks in advance. I guess starting in October, they just start pumping out the Friday flicks. I think that's what it's called, Friday flicks. Every Friday, like 7 p.m. they start playing Halloween movies. The ones you wait for the most. Halloween Town, absolutely. Halloween Town 1, the best one. Halloween Town 2, probably the worst one. Then Halloween Town 3 is like the second best one. Halloween Town 4, I don't even count. It's not canon. Like, they changed too much. There's a cash grab. But of the 1 to 3, it goes 1, 3, 2. in the ordering. Number 2 actually makes me uncomfortable for some reason. Like when they're doing when they're in the normal, I don't know what the term is. This also only apply to you if you've seen Halloween Town 1, 2, or 3. We're talking about 2 specifically though. When they're in the boring Halloween Town version and they're like sorting socks in this guy's basement, I don't know, it always gave me like a really claustrophobic feeling that half the movie takes place in this guy's basement and they're just with 2 like really gray people. They had lost all their color and they're talking about like sorting socks and books and stuff. I don't know, it always made me uncomfortable as a kid. I liked Halloween Town because it's like colorful and fun. That's like what the first one was. And then the second one, they just completely flipped that on its head. But the third one, they ripped right back to it and figured it out. So they knew their mistake. I was trying to think of some fun Halloween memories I have. And I mean, I have like not like detailed memories. I have a memory of being in elementary school and I had dressed up. I think I was in 4th grade. Yeah, I was in 4th grade going to Miss LeBlanc's class. And I was a nerd that year. And my friend Alex was a werewolf. And I remember hitting him with my backpack, pretending it was like a purse, and beating him because it was a wolf. And I remember that very specifically. I remember how they decorated the classrooms in elementary school. That always fired me up. That was always so exciting going to school on Halloween Day. I was like, it might as well have been a holiday. You didn't learn anything. It was just fun all day. Maybe you'd watch some movies, play some games. Everyone's dressed up. You eat some candy. It was a sick time. And then, I mean, if you don't know, my birthday is November 1st. That's the day after Halloween. So this podcast is not just celebrating Halloween. It's also celebrating my final podcast as a 26-year-old. We are going into next week's podcast. I'll be a year older. I'll have the wisdom of a 27-year-old. And I'll be guiding you guys through what I learned in my seniority and my age. But back to Halloween, off that tangent. Going into the classrooms when they were decorated, they always had like the streamers hanging down and the lights were turned off. It was so exciting as a kid. And then after you go to school and have a good time, people were still trick-or-treating back then. So then you get up with your friends, you grab your pillowcases, and you start walking the neighborhood grabbing candy. And I loved it. Those are the best times. I love in like the start of October, we used to see a lot more houses putting out decorations than you do now. I guess because, I don't know if it's just the neighborhoods I'm in, all the kids have like outgrown trick-or-treating, or if it's just trick-or-treating in general, it's just plummeting. And people don't trust their kids going door to door to get candy. I don't know. But there's been a lack in decorations and a lack of trick-or-treaters. And it's tough to see. It's very tough to see. Other than my nerd costume, what else? I've gone as a werewolf. I've gone as Frankenstein. I've gone as an old man. This isn't necessarily a Halloween story. I don't think this took place on Halloween, but I went when I was really young as Sarge, I think it is, from Toy Soldiers. You guys remember that movie? It was like a more mature Toy Story. It was a live action, I think. The toys came to life and like they had a war and stuff. They were actually like fighting the humans. There were bad toys and good toys. And I was Sarge. Was it Sarge or Lieutenant? No, Lieutenant Surge's Pokemon. I think I'm going to look it up. All right. I've done my searching. First off, it wasn't called Toy Soldiers. I was looking up a movie called Toy Soldiers, and it's like terrorists have taken captive a bunch of school children to release a South American drug baron. And I'm like, okay, this does not sound like the movie I watched as a kid. But I was still like, okay, maybe the toys were fighting terrorists, and I just missed that as a child. And then I found out the movie's called Small Soldiers. And the character is not called Sarge. His name is way cooler, Chip Hazard. I had a Chip Hazard costume. I mean, my parents know this was where this story is going. But the only memory I have of that costume, besides seeing a photo of it, is apparently when I was wearing that costume, I had to go. I went out and told my parents, I have flat poop in my bum. I guess I pooped while I was sitting, so the poop had flattened. And I'm being aware of that fact. I had to tell everybody I had flat poop in my bum. That's my only memory of that. Well, what we call our Aunt Linda, she's actually just a family friend, but she's close enough to us that she's family. She has what we call the tickle trunk at her house, and it's just filled with costumes. So that was always a memory of mine. Linda always goes all out on holidays. She's one of the ones that really does the decorations right. Really goes, full lawn decorations, the inflatables, the lights, the moving animatronics, everything. And she has a tickle trunk full of costumes that we would always you'd go over like a few weeks before Halloween to figure out what you want to be, try on a bunch of different costumes, play with all the toys, put up decorations, eat lots of candy. Linda always has a Kinder Surprise for you when you go over. Always a good time. And so Linda's house is like a staple. You got to go there on Halloween to explore the decorations she's put up, and she always produces like goodie bags for all the kids coming around the neighborhood. So if I'm not gonna tell you where she lives, but if you happen to trick or treat at her house, you know what I'm talking about. You know where that good stuff is. Yeah, Chip Hazard, my latest good costume, or I guess my last costume probably, because I didn't go out last year or the year before, I don't think. But I had bought this in first year university. I bought this big like red inflatable suit, almost like a sumo suit. It just blows up into a ball. Then it comes with a red mask, red gloves. You're just a big red ball. That's it. You're just a red sphere. And I used that to create, we're going to a stag and doe for Sarah's brother and fiance. And there's a costume contest at the party. So I took that big inflatable doll, wrote easy on the front of it, and then pinned it off a little necklace that says Staples. So it has a Staples easy button. And then every time someone would touch me, I would say, that was easy. Incredible costume. Got a ton of compliments on it, honestly. The most heartbreaking thing was that I did not win the costume contest. Donald Trump, you talk about your stolen election. You'd be way more furious if you lost this election that I lost. I lost to Woody and Little Bo Peep, whose costumes were purchased, but just because there's two of them, somehow that makes their costume better than mine. That was homemade and ingenious. No. I deserve that trophy. Everyone knows it. And I still feel spiteful. I still feel scorned over that. Even though there was a raffle and I did win like the 3 things I bid on, I won all 3 of them. So I still came out full-handed, full-armed. What's the opposite of empty-handed? Full-handed? Overflowing-handed? I don't know. Boy, these are the podcasts. You'd think that Halloween would be like an easy topic for me to just riff on because it's a holiday. And it should be like no problem just to talk about. But this is another unprepared episode. I'm not going to trash it like I did episode 5. Absolutely just tell you it's the worst episode ever. We're going to keep sticking through this because at least now we're aware of it. In number 5, I was not aware of it at the moment. It wasn't until after I listened to it. That's like, oh, this stinky. This sucks. So we keep traveling through this one. I mean, we do have the diaries that you can read at the end of this episode just to like kind of pump up the numbers a bit. Extend that time length if we need to. But for now, we got to focus on just talking about the topic at hand, which is Halloween movies. We talked about some Halloween movies, talked about the Halloween Town movies. But, I mean, Disney played more than just those movies on Halloween time. Another common one I would always watch is Alvin and the Chipmunks. The one where Theodore turns into a werewolf. That's a good one. He's like doing the school play as a werewolf, and then he's slowly turning into a werewolf. He's also crushing on this other chipmunk as well. And I think, he does that like that whole the Spider-Man 3 thing where he kind of gets like emo and angsty. He like combs his hair down and he's like a bad boy to this sweet other little chipmunk girl that he's crushing on, and he scares her away. Another Halloween movie I watched was the Ernest movies. I think it's Ernest Scared Stupid, where all these monsters come back to life. There's the Headless Horseman movies I watched. Was there like a Alvin and the Chipmunks Headless Horseman movie? Or there might have just been some separate one about Ichabod Crane, not the original like 1968 one or whenever that came out, but as a more recent like the 2000s or the 1990s. Yeah, Halloween movies are great. I don't like scary ones, like the actual Halloween movies, that series. I don't like those. I don't like gore movies. I don't enjoy scary movies, but I do want to watch them for the plot, if you know what I'm saying. I want to know what happens and what the scary monster is. So I like knowing like the theories behind it and like the lore of these monster movies. But I'm too scared for the scary parts. So a trick, if you also enjoy the story of horror movies but don't like the horror, if you just mute the movie, it loses all scariness. The sound is like all of it. A jump scare is only impactful because like the sudden loud noise. If you take away the loud noise, jump scares aren't scary. It's just like a picture changing on a screen. It's like watching a PowerPoint. Have you ever been jump scared watching a PowerPoint? It doesn't happen. There's no slide that's like, oh my god. Oh, what is that? Ooh, spooked me. No. Yeah, mute the movies, and then you can watch any scary movie you want. It's just you have to pay attention to when the audio changes to like, they start to build up the horror part and the suspense. That's when you gotta flick it. And usually, put subtitles on too. Subtitles help so you can hear when they're out of the scary part. Or you can I've also just looked up on there's a website called like Where's the Jump or Where's the Scare, and it tells you the time when like all the jump scares are, so you can brace yourself beforehand. You can be ready for it, so it's not a jump scare. You can kind of like, you can close your eyes, you can look away, you can mute it. But that's a good tactic too, if you're interested in the origin story. Halloween. This Halloween, I don't really know what we're gonna do. The man himself, Will Breen's coming to Waterloo to check out the new place, stay for the weekend. Halloween's on Sunday, if you weren't aware of that and you weren't ready for that. Haven't done anything to prepare for it this year, though. I haven't even recorded the podcast intro, and that's going out tomorrow. So, I'm not a good preparation person, as you could hear in the beginning of this podcast. No jack-o'-lanterns, though. No pumpkin carving. Never really was really big into the pumpkin carving, though. I just don't like the part of, like, scooping out all the guts in that. And I'm not super artistic at the carving part. Like, I'm not good with the knives or drawing something out. But, good segue. Speaking of artistic stuff, I have gotten into a new hobby lately of painting. It caught me by surprise. When Sarah announced that she was moving to BC, I wanted to get her a going away present. And she had given me, as you've seen in videos, a painting of a pineapple that is hanging up on my wall. So I wanted to give her some artwork she could hang on her wall in the new place. So I painted her an avocado. And it actually turned out like surprisingly better than I thought it actually would. I was expecting it to be terrible. And I did one quick sketch and then painted it, and it came out looking like an avocado. Like, it looks pretty good. You can see it in the Weekly Wander that's uploading right now, so it's going to be up by the time this podcast comes out. It's in the intro to that Weekly Wander. And also as the Kermit the Frog, that was my second painting. I had to use the same colors as the avocado because I only bought painting supplies to paint an avocado, and I got 2 canvases. So rather than buy more paint, I just painted Kermit the Frog as the second one to see if I really liked it. And it came out great as well. I'm a big fan of it. I look at it all the time and like kind of smile to myself. Like, I did that. That's super cool. There's something about painting where you actually get this like physical object when you're done it. I guess that's like the best part of art. That's why people like art, because at the end of your arting, you have the art. You still get it. But like in a video game or something, if I reach I reached diamond rank in Rocket League last night. But that only exists in Rocket League. Now that my computer's not on Rocket League, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. But this painting, I'm like, hey, I painted this picture. It's right here. Look at it. You can hold it. You can see it. I just looked at it right now, and it's still there. I can guarantee it. So you can see 2 of my paintings in my last Weekly Wander. The last one I did yesterday, I did that the SpongeBob meme where he's like bent over, and then I don't know what the meme is, but like you write in the meme. It's like a mocking voice, and you write like capital undercase letters repeating. And it's like, I should look up one of the memes because I can't think of something on the spot. Yeah, it's called the Sponge Mock meme. And then someone posted this one. Boyfriend, I don't even know her like that. Me, I don't even know her like that. And then SpongeBob pretending to be a chicken. You have to look up Sponge Mock meme, but that's what I painted. I'm going to put together, I think when I paint a couple more, I'll put together a little album to throw up on Instagram. Also on Instagram, you can see my Easy Button costume. It's up there. It's like the 3rd post before the first podcast. I think the picture is an Easy Button, and if you click that, it's behind it. But yeah, painting has been super fun. Yesterday I ended up buying more canvases and a full 24 pack of acrylic paints, so I can start painting whatever I want. I am colorblind, so I had to make a decision whether I wanted to like Google and look up what colors everything are, or if I just wing it and the color it is, and that's what I've kind of leaned to. If I get the color wrong, it's just my artistic impression of a colorblind person. Well, it's not it is a colorblind person's impression. It's not an impression of a colorblind person. I am that colorblind person. It's just a colorblind art. And I think I'm gonna stick with that. I don't like looking up. Also, colors have so many random names that it's hard to match. I have blue, and then there was like cerulean goddess Aphrodite blue, and it's like, well, what kind of blue is that? I got navy blue and light blue, and just blue. So which one's closest to cerulean goddess Aphrodite blue? I don't know. That's always, even as a kid, I hate colors. Like, I had to get the pencil crayons with the color written on it, and if I didn't, I just didn't know what color I was using. And as always, before I knew it was colorblind, I was always so amazed that kids could just like pick up crayons and immediately know what color is going to come out of it just for like looking at the piece of lead. Like, how do you know that's brown and that's green without it being written on it? Like, you guys learned something I didn't. How do you know like blue? Your water is always blue. Mine half the time is purple. How is yours? How are you never screwing that up? And it's like, oh no, my eyes just don't work. My eyes just no good. So, colorblind artist. If you want any commissions, let me know. I imagine I started making more money painting than I ever did for doing this podcast or YouTubing. Just pivot completely. I do need ideas though. So if you hear this on YouTube or somewhere, or if you just hear this in general, and you got an idea for something you want painted, send it to me. I can throw that together on a 8x10 canvas. They're 8x8 now. No, they're 8x10. That's a rectangle. Yeah, they're 8x10. Sorry, ignore that. Just trying to pad the stats here and extend this podcast length as long as possible. So painting's been fun. I'm going to keep to that. Hopefully I can add more hobbies like that are away from the computer. We were kind of getting sucked back into the video games this past week and getting lost in the new world. So we gotta slow that down. But I think having Will over this weekend will kind of be nice to take a break from the computer, do some things in real life with other people, enjoy some time, get up some Halloween shenanigans, maybe watch a Leafs game for the first time. I haven't watched any hockey at all this year. I know the Leafs are off to a rough start. This will not be a long sports segment of the podcast. As much as I can enjoy sports and like watch them, I don't think by myself I'll ever be a watcher. I even playoff hockey. I say I only watch playoff hockey. I watch maybe like the elimination games. I miss most games. Sports are a long commitment. It's like 2.5 to 3 hours of sitting down if you're going to watch a full game. And there's a lot of different sports to watch. So I don't know how people are fans of multiple sports and also get anything done in their life. But I do, ever since like becoming a hockey fan, I'll put that in air quotes, fan, I have like developed an understanding of other sports and like an appreciation for why people like this. It is pretty cool to see people like at the top of their skill, at the top of their profession, competing against one another and just knowing how far above everyone else these people are. I think that's super cool to watch and to experience. But it's, like I said, it's a long time commitment that I don't want to really give up my evenings just to watch that. And if I do watch it, I usually end up being distracted on my phone or doing something else anyways. So I'm like, okay, why did I watch this in the first place? I can just watch the highlights after if I'm really interested. And based on recent history, I'm not that interested because I'm not looking at the highlights or what has happened at all. I do have a fantasy hockey team that I set my lines for the week and then that's about it. Not a lot of thought into it. I used to be super into it. We had, in our first house at Churchill Street, I think we had 3 or 4 TVs set up, all streaming a different hockey game. And then all of us had like our laptops with fantasy going up. So every time you got anything, you'd be like, oh, got a shot, got a hit. Oh, baby, get an assist, go, go, go. And it was a sports bar in our living room. And we would just 1,000 screens going on there, phones, laptops, TV screens, everything you had just with a game going, just so we could keep track of our players. But those days are long behind us. I don't have the time to research and I'm doing all that. So, I mean, that's kind of why I suck at fantasy this year. I'm just picking all the old names I know and just the young kids. I can't keep up with them. Speaking of young kids, I just made a delicious grilled cheese for lunch. I used some white bread, and then in the pan I used butter and oil, which I learned from Roy Choi. You should use butter and oil. I guess butter by itself will just burn usually. So I did butter and oil, and then I also put some butter inside the sandwich. The bread was frozen and the butter was also in the fridge. I really got to get a butter bell so I can have like room temperature butter that's spreadable. But put some butter inside. One sandwich was just cheese. It was an old white cheddar cheese. Old being like the type of it, not just old as it's been in my fridge for a while. Old white cheddar cheese, and then one of them I put ham, and then one of them was just a grilled cheese. Butter on both sides of the bread, inside and out. Put them in the pan, slow cook them on like a level 4 burner. Flip them, came out golden and perfect, and they were actually delicious. I'm sure my cholesterol went absolutely through the roof after eating that with butter, like double-sided buttered bread with ham and cheese inside of it. So not good for me at all. Gonna clog up the arteries, but worth it for how delicious it was. And that's the thing about grilled cheese is you don't really need the fancy ingredients to hit that high tier level of it. We talked about this the other night, that like just white bread and a Kraft single slice makes an incredibly good grilled cheese, like a very high bar. And you can improve on it with like, if you had like a good sourdough from a bakery and they got some, Havarti or provolone or Gouda or any of those good cheeses. I don't know if any of those are actually grilled cheeses. Roy Choi on the Chef show on Netflix. If you guys have seen the movie Chef, like the making of a grilled cheese, it was like a super intense moment and like people loved it. And they showed how they made that grilled cheese and like what the 5 different cheeses he's used on that sandwich were. And it just looked amazing. But probably that grilled cheese is probably like a 9.4, and a Kraft singles and white bread is still like an 8.8. So you're still an incredibly good grilled cheese either way. I did go with ketchup as well. Normally I'm not a ketchup man. I was off ketchup for a long time and just total on the mustard family. Not like putting mustard on things I would have normally. I didn't put mustard on my grilled cheeses, but like mustard was just the dominant condiment in my eyes, and it still is. It's still the top dog. But I've slowly been reintroducing ketchup into some scenarios. Sometimes you like Kraft dinner with ketchup, but most of the time I just want to enjoy the taste of that cheesy cheese and those hot dogs. I don't remember what topic I was on when I stopped talking. I took a little break to kind of think of what I want to think about. Think of what I want to talk about. And I just realized I saw Dune on Sunday. I had a little adventure. So I'm in Waterloo, and my dad and sister are going to see Dune, the new movie, in the Cineplex VIP theaters, which I guess they're like a higher class version of Cineplex. And they have them in Etobicoke and Markham. So we decided the Markham version, the Markham Cinema, is the better place to go, rather than have to drive into Toronto and like get on the Garden or the Don Valley Parkway. Skip that and just, if you go to the Markham, you can just take the 401 or 407. For them, they can kind of take the 7 or whatever. Something. I'm not here to give you directions. I'm not Google Maps here. We went to Markham for a movie. That's it. And we were seeing Dune. If I'd never been to the VIP theater before, so I didn't know what the experience was. It was very cool though. It's kind of like you walk into a regular Cineplex, then there's this side room, this Cineplex VIP area, where it's kind of like a first class lounge for movie theaters. So very few people there. You walk in, it's very fancy, like hotel dining room kind of thing. A few tables and booths, a big bar in the middle. I think there was some pool tables and stuff like that. Some like things to keep you occupied. And then only a couple of theaters. So because of COVID, we got there. They only let you in 15 minutes, half an hour before the show. So the show was at 3:15. They let us in at 2:45. We go to our seats, and all the seats are like leather lazy boys. Just the only downside is they didn't have foot recliners. I was really hoping for something to like put my feet up, because of the way it's set up, it's a lot harder to put your feet on top of the seat in front of you, like you would in a normal theater. But they're nice lazy boys, and they have a table on your left arm that slides out and rotates in front of you, and there's like a QR menu on it, so you can scan the menu, and then they have what are they called? What's the dude that's like in the theater? The usher. You have to look it up. Didn't even get to Google yet. The ushers come around and they take your food order. So I ordered 2 fish tacos, popcorn, and a soda. And I mean, the price, it was movie theater price. It was way too much. 2 fish tacos were like $12. No sides, no anything. Literally just 2 like flour tortilla fish tacos. Maybe they would have been worth like $8, $7 or $8, but 12 was far too much. And then popcorn and the drink were just your usual. But the nice thing was you didn't have to go line up outside. You didn't have to leave your seat. They took your order. They bring it back to you. You are stuck with the plate then for the movie. So we had to stick them a couple seats down on their table since there was no one sitting there. But still a very nice experience. My sister covered the ticket, and my dad gave me some money for gas. But then the food and the 407 charge, I ended up still paying way more than I would for a normal movie. But for the experience itself, I really enjoyed it, and I recommend it. And the movie Dune, honestly, I went in not knowing anything about it. I try to avoid movie trailers and stuff like that now. I had never read the book or seen the original, but it was a really good movie to see in theaters. The cinematography, the sound effects, and like all the design of it, the entire movie and the universe they've created. It was well worth the theater experience, and sitting in those nice big seats was an added bonus. So if you were thinking about Dune, or you haven't seen Dune, you know nothing about it, and someone asks you if you want to see Dune, I'd say go see Dune, especially if it's in theaters. At home, probably if you have a good home theater setup, I think it'd be a good, enjoyable movie. But for sure, a cinematic experience for the theaters. Musical interlude. All right, I don't know what else to talk about. I was so unprepared. So I'm not going to end the episode, but I think I'm just going to cheat and read you some things. If you guys don't know what you don't know, so if you do know, I'd be more concerned. But since you don't know, my friends and I did this thing called, well, it wasn't called, Here at Air In Air Out, we like to perfectly craft our podcast, so there's no break in the entertainment, and so there's no stuttering around the point. You get right to the entertainment every single time. Air In Air Out, here for your ears, staying for your love. So, my friends and I did this thing last year during the pandemic where we would rate a story together. So essentially there's 6 of us, so we all picked a number from 1 to 6, and then each took turns writing a paragraph or so of a story. So whoever the first one was gets to establish the entire setting and the characters of the story, and then sequentially after that, everyone's filling in the story how they see fit. And we wrote 5 or 6 stories. So this is something I'm going to test out as well as the diaries, but if people want to hear other stories that we wrote, I'd be more than willing to read them. I did ask their permission before while we were at Friendsgiving if they'd be cool with me reading them. So this is the very first one we wrote. I should look up what it's... All right, here we go. Here is a reading of the Page Peepers' first story titled Masterpiece by Sana, Sarah, Aaron, Reed, Henry, and Lucas. It's been 43 days since I've heard from her. Genevieve, a woman I never knew I loved. Not until she left me over a month ago. I think of her often as I watch the sun peek over the horizon. She really enjoyed to watch the sunrise. Her cheeks were always flushed when she woke up in the mornings, as if she just pinched them or something. I never noticed these small things, not until this day. Today is July 3rd. I decided to make my way down to the beach like she always did. I remember her knocking on my door in the mornings with her flushed, freckled face, and with a slightly tired-looking smile she would ask, "Hey Elias, is today finally the day you join me?" I always said no. I would express how the sun isn't going anywhere, and I'd walk along the sand with her once my project was finished. "The sun always comes back in the mornings," I'd chuckle. Little did I know Genevieve wouldn't always do so. She was my sunshine, but she wasn't the sun after all. These are things I wish I would have said to her. Why didn't I see this earlier? I was so engulfed in my work that I let her slip away from my doorstep every morning. My front door is a heavy, black-stained beauty made from mahogany. One of my first actual useful woodworks I ever made. The hinges are sticky and don't support the door on its own well enough. I have to slightly lift the door by the handle to be able to open it and for it to fully close. It's a pain in the ass, but with Genevieve I didn't really notice it. I'd open the door to greet her just like any other door. Only did I truly notice my crafting mistakes when I opened it today. The day I finally finished crafting my masterpiece. The day I realized the sun wasn't there to greet me in the morning and invite me to feel the sunshine. I wouldn't be joining her to watch the day begin. Instead, I'm doing it for her. Carefully, I make my way across the porch and down the steps. The wood collapses ever so slightly under the weight of each step. The familiar sound of creaking floorboards echoes through the early morning stillness. I remember the warm feeling of anticipation every time I heard Genevieve's footsteps approaching the door. "Hey Elias, maybe you could use those nifty woodworking skills to build yourself a new porch. I swear one of these days I'm going to fall straight through and you'll never hear from me again," she laughed. I promised her I would as soon as my project was finished. My project, my all-consuming masterpiece that I chose over her time and time again. For what reason, I asked myself. How am I to enjoy a piece of artwork if the sun isn't there to shine on it? As I make my way down our shared path toward the beach, I take a moment to look back. My eyes take in the neglected exterior of my small beach shack. The white painted siding is discolored and chipped, the window shutters hanging on by a thread. The shack itself looks as though it's been swallowed by the overgrown vegetation surrounding it. Startled by the grim reality of my years of neglect, I shift my gaze next door. Genevieve's bright yellow cottage is a stark contrast to my house of horrors. Apart from a few wilting flower pots from her absence, her property is incredibly well taken care of. A little eccentric perhaps, but well taken care of. She had every inch painted with the brightest colors. She must have had 5 different colors of shutters alone. Most people would have gawked at the rainbow-colored mishmash, but she absolutely adored it. I asked her once why she had so many different colors on her house. "I couldn't pick one," was all she said. A smile tugs at the corner of my lips as the memory crosses my mind, then quickly fades as I'm brought back to the present reality. Genevieve isn't here. I turn back in the direction of the beach. When I reach the gate, I try to remember how long it's been since I last walked down here. It must have been a few years at least. A feeling of unease washes over me as I reach down for the latch. I think of Genevieve as I take a deep breath and push the gate open. As I do this, I hear a loud thump on the other side of the gate. Something has fallen onto the sand in front of me. I look down to see what it is, and gasp. I killed Greg! Well, not that Greg was ever alive, but if he was a living thing, he would most certainly be dead. I couldn't believe I forgot about him. Has it really been that long? I leaned down and picked up the rock that was the head of the Inukshuk sculpture. Death by gate is something I never thought it would be possible, but alas, today it has come true. Genevieve always has her special way of bringing light and life to even the darkest of places. I remember the day she told me about Greg and how she made him as a reminder that I was never truly alone, even while she was on one of her adventures. Now with Greg gone, it looks like I am truly alone. "I'm sorry, Greg," I say as I let the stone fall from between my fingers. The rock again hits the sand and thump solidifies his demise. Looking out over the water, the sun has begun to make its final few moments of golden light, the gold reflecting in the water and feeling warm against my skin. However, like Greg, this will not last forever. I imagine if I ever accepted Genevieve's offer for a long walk on the beach, to walk along the beach, this is a fraction of how it would have felt. The warm grains moving between our toes as her smile outshined the sun. Maybe we'd hold hands. Maybe we would talk about something deeper than just the weather. Perhaps Greg would have a whole rock person family? My mind snaps back to reality as I find myself on the beach, alone, watching the last few moments of sun disappear from the clear evening sky, remains of the past lying dead upon the cooling sand. Perhaps a bit of work would bring some form of escapism. While I didn't truly believe this would fully resolve these feelings of loneliness and regret, it is the one consistent thing in my life and would soon reach a climax with the completion of my latest special project. Upon closing the gate to the now dark and cold beach, I returned to the path home. After not even a moment of travel, I caught a light on the edge of my vision. The light near the window of Genevieve's cottage was on, and the building's main door ajar. My heart flutters. Its beat increases tenfold. My legs start to move on their own. "Genevieve!" I yelled, now in a full sprint. As I reach the front of the door, a strange face emerges from the cottage. "You must be Elias," expresses the stranger as he extends his hand forward. "I am. And you are?" I replied while accepting his formality. "Genevieve has told me so much about you. I'm her boyfriend, Julian. I'm just picking up some of her things for her. She won't be back up here for a while. Pretty busy with work these days." My stomach churns. How did it come to this? Has that much time really passed? My mind goes blank. I eventually muster up some form of response. "Oh, well, nice to meet you. Just give me a shout if you need anything. If you'll excuse me, I've got some work to do on my own." "Likewise," Julian proclaims as he walks inside and closes the door. As I returned to the confines of my humble abode, my stomach still felt sick. Boyfriend? Work? It dawned on me that there was much to Genevieve's that still eluded me. Did I truly know anything about Genevieve? I thought to myself. I mean, I knew about some of her quirks and maybe a hobby or two, but never gave her a moment of my time. I never even entertained the notion of getting to know her, as she had tried so many days to get closer to me. I found myself running scenarios through my head about how I could have just pushed myself to walk out my door, to take the steps across my porch and down to the crashing waves of the ocean, and to embrace the sun that I often ignored. As I go over the scenes in my head, I can't help but to feel that the whole thing means less without Genevieve there with me. I needed to get these thoughts out of my head. I went back to work on my so-called masterpiece, but in retrospect, it now seems like it was the blindfold over my eyes. The one thing that kept my attention off of her. I focused on my work, as much as I could anyways, with all that happened today. Slowly, time crept into the late hours of the night and sleep began to embrace my being, and I was overcome by it. I awoke as quickly as I fell asleep. It couldn't have been later than 5 a.m., the moon still draping the room with its cold glow. There was a stillness in the room. The only motion is the beating heart of the ocean battering the shore. I cast my eyes over the bedroom. Empty bottles, scraps of food, clothes sprawled across the floor. This consumption I've had with my project has reduced me to a shell of a man, deteriorated my spirit and my will as my only focus has been its completion. I must press on and finish it once and for all. Happy 4th of July, I think as my feet touch the hardwood and the chills ripple through my skin. The floor creaks with each step as I dance over the discarded plates and bottles and make my way to the workshop. I pull the light cord, and as the fluorescent bulb hums, I review my progress. It won't take much. The end is finally in sight. When it's finally revealed, it won't just be Genevieve who notices. My craftsmanship will fascinate all. I expect some may even be brought to tears. I get to work. For how long, I do not know. As I'm standing, Genevieve runs through my mind. I hope she's happy with him. Happy to have someone to maneuver life's challenges. Happy to have someone to share the stomach-aching laughs and heart-wrenching tears. Happy to have someone. It's nearly finished. The sun is now casting through the cracked shop window, highlighting the clouds of sawdust that permeate the room. Just the delicate details remain. Brass handles, silver hinges, an antique cherry stain. This will be the entrance to a new world, a start to a new chapter. My work finishes and I'm eager to put it to use. I decide to clean myself up before diving in. A clean shave and shower makes me feel like a new man. I leave the bathroom greeted by the fresh clothes I left on my bed. A sky blue shirt paired with my father's tie that he wore the day he married my mother. I head back to the workshop to prepare the reveal. I'm nervous to say the least. I haven't told anyone about my project or intentions. What will they think? What will they say? What will she think? There's too many questions to be answered. I just need to act. I have a drink, my last drink, and I'm washed over by a feeling of finality. As I lie down, I ignore the anxiety and pain I'm feeling. The regrets of the world wash away, and it's only me, surrounded by the walls of my casket. And that's the story. That's Masterpiece. Written by the six of us. I wonder if you can... if you know everyone, maybe you can tell by their writing styles who wrote it, but I feel like I shouldn't reveal who wrote each part. Maybe, I think my part kind of stood out because it actually sounded pretty similar to the stuff I've already read for my diaries. So maybe you can spot me out, but everyone else, I think it was a pretty fluid story. There's some plot holes that didn't get filled, but for everyone writing their own paragraph, I enjoyed it. It was a fun process. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do we have 6 of them? I think everyone started their own story. So if you enjoyed that story, we have more to read. Or if you thought that was kind of boring, we don't have to read them. But now we'll get to the juicy stuff. Get to more reading. Reading is tough, I actually realized. As I'm doing that, I have to take a lot more breaks than I do when I'm just speaking like off the cuff. And also you realize how you write differently than how you speak. Like which one's the true way I talk? Is the way I write how I actually talk? Or is the way I talk how I talk and the way I write is how I think? You never know, but let's get into it's time to diary. Do musical interlude. So I think today's we just have a basic one. A basic one that I wrote. I kind of remember writing this one and posting it on Facebook. It's titled Why Am I Quiet? Which is a question I've gotten a lot. Or something people have pointed out to me a lot. Hey, you're pretty quiet. As if I did not notice. As if I was unaware that my lips weren't moving. So I decided to write this out and just post it out into Facebook so everyone could see it and answer it for all, rather than having to tell everyone individually. Why am I quiet? Why am I quiet? By Aaron Brock. If you've ever met me or known of me for some period of time, you've probably thought to yourself that I'm a quiet person. I don't deny the fact that I'm quiet. I confess I'm a quiet person. The reason I'm quiet is not what many of you seem to believe, however. I'm not shy, which is what most people think. I'm not scared to talk because I'm afraid of what people think of me. Truth is, there's no real definitive answer as to why I'm quiet. I just choose to be. There are some factors that make me more quiet or antisocial at times. One of them is the fact that I absolutely hate small talk. I couldn't care less for it. Hey, how are you? How's it going? What's up? Are the most common ones I get throughout the day. And although I do answer them, you can probably tell I'm not very enthused when I answer. It's not because I'm upset. It's because people ask me that question repeatedly throughout the day, and I just get sick of answering it. If you really want to talk to me, ask me something about me that you're wondering, or if you've got something on your mind, I'd be happy to talk it through. Those are the conversations I like, the ones with meaning and purpose. I also don't like starting conversations unless I'm thoroughly interested in some aspect of your life. As said, I hate small talk, but there are some people I don't mind making small talk with. You can generally tell I like you if I start these random conversations out of nowhere, usually via text. I'm not trying to be annoying, I'm just interested in your life. If there is something you want to know about me, just ask. I don't keep secrets, and I'm not afraid of people judging me because your opinion truly does not affect me. So there you have it. I'm not shy, scared, upset, or anything like that. I'm just quiet. It's who I am. So I think when I was, I guess it would have been 17 when I wrote that. That's why I thought I was quiet. I now learned I disagree. I actually disagree with myself back then. I said, I don't... Actually, maybe back then that was the reason. But it seems pretty rude, honestly. I don't like small talk. I don't want to talk to you. Don't ask me how dare you ask how I am. How dare you do that? Don't you waste my time with that small chatter. I'm here for big talk only. No, I think the reason now I think is because I'm quiet is more because I put these barriers on myself. We touched on this in a past episode, but I very calmly get into a state of mind that, I don't have anything in common with these people, therefore I have nothing to add to them. Nothing I say will be of use to them, therefore I should just keep quiet and let them continue to talk amongst themselves. No, I put these barriers on what I think is acceptable and who I think I am. Therefore, I limit who I can talk to because of that. And that's why I think I'm quiet, and that's something I'm working on. Now that I can kind of catch those thoughts in my head as I'm sitting there quietly, hey, why aren't you saying anything? Why aren't you speaking up? You can chip in here. People want to hear what you have to say. So that's my issue, I think, of being quiet. Not so much an issue of, I'm actually super confident, I just don't care about talking. No, you were wrong, young man. Young Aaron. Well, this is growth. This right here is what we call growth. Yesterday I spent the afternoon walking around with a elderly woman, walking around some ponds and potentially stopping an arsonist. Well, we didn't stop him, actually. It wasn't potentially. We did not stop him. We did not stop an arsonist. The fire was lit. There was smoke. We didn't stop anything. But we did call somebody. So we did our due diligence. Sorry, my dad just texted me saying, your wanders get better every week. Good work, Aaron. Which means he must have watched it, which means it must have gotten uploaded. So, that's a review from Jim Brock. If you haven't watched The Weekly Wander yet, go check that out. But, other than that for me, I don't know what else. This episode wasn't a stinker, but it wasn't what I wanted it to be. And that came down to me not preparing and putting in the effort. I had this idea in my head that after 5 o'clock I get to be free and do whatever I want. And I should try and end that. I think I should just spend as much time as I want working on these things and then put them out because they're supposed to be fun and enjoyable. And this is just me talking to myself. This should not be after 5 o'clock this is work. It's the same thing no matter what time of day I do it. So, changing that mindset. I talk about it all the time. I'm a broken record, but we're going to keep trying to get better. Keep doing these podcasts. I worked on those outros last week, and I don't remember any of them. So I'm going to take Reed's advice and just copy and paste it whenever I do decide to end this episode. So, other than that, I think I'll talk to you next week as an older, wiser man. I hope you guys enjoy your Halloween weekend. I hope you dress up, eat candy, spend time with friends and family, trick or treat. And more importantly, you celebrate my birthday and honor me in some way on Monday. So, it's been a pleasure, as always. This is your captain, signing off. Hey, you did a great job listening to this podcast, and I really think you're going to do a great job again next week. So be sure to tune in to Air in, Air Out every Friday on Spotify, Google, and Apple. Also, find me on YouTube at Aaron the Brock. Take it easy, folks.
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed your stay. Now take what you learned and have a great day. Damn, it feels feels good to air out.